I'm with Stephanie Taylor, the co-founder of the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. Stephanie, it's day 2 of the convention here. A lot happened, but the biggest thing that happened today was that Bill Clinton spoke, and he spoke for quite a while, and he covered just about every base. What was your take on what he had to say?
Well, I think that was the longest thing that happened at the convention. I think the biggest thing I would argue is actually Elizabeth Warren and her fantastic, really bringing the House down talk about the need for fairness, the need for holding Wall Street accountable, and for getting some of these corporations under control.
Yeah, it was funny. When we were doing our current coverage, John Fugelsang came on afterwards, just after Elizabeth Warren, and said, "I'd hate to be the guy who has to go after her." Of course, alluding to President Clinton. Yeah. But she did give a good speech, and equally as good. And I would think the most Emanuel Cleaver gave a great speech earlier today that was almost like listening to a preacher on a Sunday morning. It was fantastic, Congressman Emanuel Cleaver. And then I thought Sandra Fluke gave a really good speech too. The people were really into it. She actually hit on notes about women's rights and elucidating the fact that there were no women at the Republican hearings, hearings about women, reminding America that happened, and then ending her speech with I think the turn of phrase that was fantastic was, "America, it's time to choose." So the whole idea of choice, the whole idea of women's rights being shown here, I thought was important. And I agree with you with Elizabeth Warren. I don't want to be Scott Brown tomorrow.
Exactly. And we actually announced today that the Progressive Change Campaign Committee has raised $1 million now, all in small dollar online donations for Elizabeth Warren. And I think it really is a symbol of the fact that she has enormous grassroots support, both in Massachusetts and across the country.
Yeah, the PCCC has been behind her from the very get-go. I mean, behind her before she was running for anything, philosophically, and that's important. What she did today in this room, how do you think that, what sort of effect does that have on her campaign? I would gather not as much as the money you've raised at the PCCC.
Well, I think that what will happen is that this was obviously an opportunity for Massachusetts voters to see her. Maybe folks who hadn't yet started paying attention to the election are going to start tuning in now because it's the convention, because this is really officially the kickoff of election season. And I think that people are really going to like what they see. She's very sincere, she's very authentic. Scott Brown has this faux populism with his truck and sort of this story about himself that I think she really walks the walk. She really is the person who's out there fighting for working families.
Right, and the speech was good. We should talk a little bit about President Clinton's speech because it was the centerpiece of the evening, even though, with all due respect to Elizabeth Warren, I think most of America is going to be talking about President Bill Clinton's speech. And what do you think Clinton tried to accomplish, and then what do you think he did accomplish tonight?
He did a really masterful job of just dismantling piece by piece these Republican lies, the Republican hypocrisy, and he did it all with a smile, and he did it all with that Bill Clinton charm. And boy, I really missed him. I really missed listening to him.
A lot of people miss listening to Bill Clinton. There was something about I kept thinking about "We built it, the refrain from the idea from the Tampa, from the Republican convention. And I kept thinking about that when Bill Clinton was talking, because he was dismantling it, as you said. He was unbuilding everything, all the lies that they had built up. And I think that, it was a long class, but each part of that class had impact in this hall, and I would imagine in America. It was long, but I think it was impactful because what it needed to do, it did. He took apart the lies, he broke them down, he said what they were, and then he simplified the answer and the response.
Exactly. I think that you just put it exactly right. This was a class that America needed to sit in, and it did get a little long, but
we've all taken those long classes before.
But
I'm a little smarter having listened.
But he was a very charming professor.
Yeah, well, and let's talk about the politics of it a little bit. There was a fence that maybe needed mending with Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. It may have been played up a little much in the media, but that's what the media does. And if this was a time for Bill Clinton to reach out, or for Barack Obama to reach out to Bill Clinton, do you think it's important for Obama to have Clinton on his side in a public way now when he didn't have it before, for understandable reasons? I mean, he ran against his wife, and that caused a rift, and that we all understand that. Do you think that helped politically with America?
Well, I think that this election is close. I mean, this is not going to be a landslide. I think that Obama is doing very well, but I think that he's definitely got to be campaigning hard and working hard. I think that it's also close because we're having a real conversation both in the country right now and within the Democratic Party about what kind of a party we are, what kind of a country we are, where we're putting our priorities, protecting fundamental programs like Medicare and Social Security. And so I think that, it is important for Barack Obama to be taking his allies where he can find them right now.
And one more thing here before we stop, Stephanie. What haven't you heard yet at this convention? Day 2 in the books. What haven't we talked about?
I mean, I think that Romney and Ryan's real Achilles heel is wanting to end Medicare. That is, and they have obviously tried to muddy that with the advertising that they came out with a strong ad, basically saying a bunch of lies about Obama's plan. I think that Democrats really need to draw a very clear contrast and a very forceful contrast saying, they want Medicare for none. We want Medicare for all. We need to go further. We need to really assert that this is going to be what this party is going to do. We are going to protect Medicare, and that's really where a contrast is going to be.
Right.
And I'd like to see more of that. And I think that there's room for that, and I think it would be a smart move nationally by the Democratic Party.
Great. Well, Stephanie Taylor from the PCCC, the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, thanks for being with us on the Young Turks, and we look forward to doing it again.
Thanks.
All right.